Hi, my name is Carrie. You might know me as K Warning or from my shop 8-Bit Stitch. Today I want to talk to you about hoops and Qsnaps. The differences, which one's better in my opinion. For all of us beginning stitchers, I'm sure it's safe to say that we all started stitching in hoops. A lot of the times if you get a cross stitch kit, it's going to come with an embroidery hoop in the kit for you to start with. Now, whether you're using a hoop or a Qsnap, I do recommend finding the center of your fabric first before you put it in said frame. My tip for that, let me use this very strangely shaped piece of Aida for this example. To find the center of a piece like this, I would fold it in half one way, and I kind of take my time to crease just to make sure that crease kind of stays where I can see it. I will fold it in half the opposite way, and again, creasing it so that I can find that center. So you'll then kind of be able to notice faint lines meeting in the middle of your Aida piece. I'll go ahead and put my first stitch of the pattern in that Aida, and then I will line it up with whatever frame I am using at that time. That way, once it's in the frame, I still know where the center of my Aida is. A lot of the times with these frames, they are gonna really pull the Aida tight for you. So you might not be able to tell where the center is once it's on the frame. Two big reasons why I really prefer Qsnaps over an embroidery hoop. Reason number one, typically a Qsnap has a little more surface area on the inside that you'll be able to use as opposed to the hoop. So you'll kind of have less moving around the frame on your piece when you're using a Qsnap. So what I mean by that is I've got a piece that I'm working on with this embroidery hoop, and I finished the design here, but I need to work over in this section, so I'm going to move my hoop over and work on that section. I just personally find I have to do that less with Qsnaps because they come in different varieties and sizes. I mean, hoops do also, but there's something about this circular shape that I feel like really limits your range of work, if that makes sense. Another reason that I really like the Qsnap is I feel like it does not leave a crease on your Aida as badly as an embroidery hoop does. This was finally my breaking point with embroidery hoops. I did use them quite frequently when I started cross stitching, and I would notice when I would take my project off of the hoop, it would have a circular ring around it. Now, of course, I use wrinkle release and I do steam and press my pieces when they're done, but I was finding that the longer the piece was in the embroidery hoop, the more pronounced that ring was. There were even times when I found it near impossible to get that creased ring out of my Aida. That really doesn't happen with a Qsnap because you're running the fabric on a flat surface and kind of curving the edges over the piping. It just seems to be more gentle on the Aida while also keeping it tight. Now, hoops are still great for finishing. I do still really enjoy putting a finished piece in a hoop and displaying it on my wall in a hoop. So I think that's one thing that an embroidery hoop is really great for over a Qsnap, because obviously you can't frame your piece on a Qsnap and hang it on the wall. I mean, I guess you could. It just might look a little strange. And also, why are you spending that amount of money on a Qsnap that you're just gonna hang on the wall? I don't know. I don't think anybody's gonna do that. You're not gonna do that. Now, a couple of tips with a Qsnap, and you might kind of notice this with my Qsnap. Like, look at how loose that is. Like, why is it so loose? Well, one, there's no Aida in it. Two, I tend to use fabric in between my snap and my Aida. That way, when I'm pulling the snap off, it's not dragging across the Aida, especially if it's a hand-dyed piece. I have noticed before when I very first started using Qsnaps that when I would pull the snap off against hand-dyed Aida, that it could rub some of the dye off and create like a white streak on the Aida. So first off, the looseness that you see. If you're noticing that your Qsnap seems pretty loose, throw it in the dishwasher. Run it for a warm cycle. It will tighten up all these snaps and it'll be good as new. So that is something I clearly need to do with mine, like probably today. Also, like I mentioned, I do put pieces of fabric in between my Aida and my snap just to protect the Aida. So these are pieces of felt. You can get a piece of felt from a craft store for Oh my goodness, I think the last time I was at the craft store, they were probably like 39 cents per sheet, like if you get a sheet like this. So what I will do is I'll, fold it in half, cut it up the middle, take those 2 halves, fold them again, cut them off the middle, and you end up with 4 pieces roughly this size. These sizes I find fit pretty perfectly on either an 8x8 or an 11x11 snap. So I'll lay the Aida on the snap first, lay the fabric over the Aida, and then snap over the felt, the Aida, and the piping. To get the snap off of your project, you literally just grab that snap part and slide it down, and it will slide right off of your project. Another fun little practical accessory you can get for your Qsnap or your hoop, really, I've seen it for both, is a Grime Guard. So these guys go over your snap once you have your Aida on it and protect your edges, mainly from the oils in your hands. Now I've kind of got that extra protection with that felt, so maybe I might not need a Grime Guard, but they're really cute. They can show your personality, and again, it just keeps your piece nice and clean from your hands. This Grime Guard was made for me as a gift, but I of course will create links down below for great places to find snaps and hoops and Grime Guards and other accessories that are mentioned in this video. So here's an example of an 11x11 piece that I've got all set up. I've got it in my hoop. I've got the pieces of felt in between the Aida, the hand-dyed Aida, and the snap as to not ruin the hand-dyed. And then I've got my Grime Guard on top of it to protect it from the oils on my hands. I really prefer the 11x11 size over the 8x8. Again, it gives you more range inside your stitch, so you're not moving the frame as much. However, if you're working on a smaller piece in general, the 8x8 could be just fine for you. The really nice thing about these frames as well is you can mix and match the pipes. So you can make your frame into like an 11x8. Or if you've got, a real tiny guy, you could do like a 6x8 or a 6x11. They're interchangeable, which is nice. Another frame that I use while cross-stitching is a scroll frame. I do have a large project on my scroll frame right now, and I'll insert some footage of what that looks like. I also have my scroll frame connected to a standing frame. This is a nice setup because it creates kind of a hands-free situation. And for larger projects like this, again, the range in which you can work without moving the scroll frame is really nice. And when you are in a section where you want to move on, all you do is scroll to move your Aida to the next portion. I have personally only used my scroll frame for super large pieces. Typically, I've got my projects in the Qsnaps. And yeah, those are the 3 main frames that I use while stitching. Well, not really hoops anymore. I hate hoops now. I'd be curious to hear what your preference is in the comments down below. If there's something that you use that I didn't really touch on in the video, I'd love to hear about it. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, happy stitching. There's no one in here. No. Yay, I did that without breaking anything. What if I had lipstick on my teeth and I couldn't tell because I can't see myself?